Hello, everyone.
Ooh. Look,
It's baby Gonzo, dressed like a chick.
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
I don't want you to ride. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad.
Has the whole world gone crazy? Am I the only one around here who gives a shit about the rules?
You have the luxury of not knowing what I know.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!
So unless you've been living under a rock for the past 5 years, any television you've watched has had some sort of message. Any movie that you've watched has had some sort of message. There's always these messages that they're putting into their movies, and it used to be so subtle that you could ignore it and just move on and enjoy the movie or enjoy the show. But now, they're just putting out bizarre stuff. Wokeism has taken over to the point in Hollywood where there's no franchise movie that is immune from their madness. They've added woke elements to Star Wars. They've added woke elements to Marvel. They created a Ghostbusters with all women. It was the most retarded show I've ever seen in my life. Nobody watched it. It lost like $70 million, but it didn't matter. Like, it's at the point they don't even care about losing money anymore. We had a black little orphan Annie. Like, why not just create new characters and then let them do whatever they're gonna do? I mean, for Christ's sakes, you took a red-headed, freckled kid who was known for having red hair and freckles, which is a very rare look in this world, okay? There aren't a ton of gingers out there as it is. This one, all freckled up, you know, this cuteness of this kid, but you just insist that we make a movie with a black one. Like, why? Why? How does that advance the black cause in any way whatsoever? It doesn't really matter because nobody watched that anyway. The same people that watched that movie were the same ones watching the terrible, horrific version of Ghostbusters, one of my favorite films ever, that was cast with all women, just because they wanted to cast it with all women. It's not like there was a story behind it. It's not like there was some reason that it was that way. No, they just cast it with all women so that they could show, I don't know what they could show. So the reason that this is all happening is because an organization called GALA, which you probably are familiar with by now. If not, it's the Gay and Lesbian Association. And for years, they've been championing gay and lesbian rights. I put this image up because I want to make you understand the connection between all of these organizations, okay? So Black Lives Matter, the Cuban government supporting Black Lives Matter that we told you was a communist organization, and we're not the only ones that told you, but we told you. Then they come out and they start supporting the Cuban government. You've got Antifa, Sunrise.org. We did a whole piece in episode 2 on Sunrise.org. You heard from them. You heard from their Zoom call. You saw AOC jump on that Zoom call. These organizations are all connected. They're not all the same organization, so it gets kind of confusing. They each have their own different little quirks. Antifa is an anarchist organization, anarchist communist organization. Black Lives Matter is straight communism. Sunrise.org is sort of a hybrid in between. They're kind of the creepiest of the bunch, though, because less people know them, and the fact is they go after children, and they're poison all these crazy kids in the street. Guess where they learn all this nonsense from? The Squad, guess where they come from? On the Zoom call for Sunrise.org, they were celebrating getting the Squad elected.
19 of our 30 endorsed candidates won their seats. And we endorsed and elected some amazing candidates, including Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, and Rashida Tlaib.
So GALA has been making an effort for years, for many years, to try and get more and more LGBTQ, is that right? LGBT, whatever, you know what I mean. To try and get more people from that category into the jobs, screenwriter, writer, producer, etc. And they've been doing this not out of altruism. Understand that this is such a small part of the population that when Hollywood complies with this, they're literally discriminating against 90% of the country. I mean, transgenders, we're talking 0.6% of the country. And that's coming from liberal sources. It's likely a lot less than that. But they've been filling these positions with these people people who are not getting hired on their merits. They're not getting hired because they were absolutely the best people for the job. That's statistically impossible. There just simply aren't enough of them. You're talking about transgenders being 0.6% of the population. They're not going to land multiple roles in Hollywood. It's just not going to happen statistically that they happen to be the most talented people in the most competitive job ever. Every single waiter in California is aspiring to act or be a screenwriter or be a producer. But they make their way in, thanks to Gala. And now the shows start ramping up. Now it starts getting crazy, and now it's gotten so far that preschoolers who just want to watch the Muppet Babies have to watch this.
Hey, Gonzo, you okay? Not exactly. I really wish I could wear one of those princess dresses to the ball. Well, I hate to see a good pal feeling bad. So tell you what, I am gonna grant your wish, because I am your fairy godfather! Bippity boppity booba! Have you ever seen such a splendorific dress? And get a load of my glass sneakers! Hello, everyone!
Ooh, look, it's...
It's Baby Gonzo, dressed like a freaking chick. This is where we're at now. So if you're that parent who thinks, oh, well, you know, I'll just turn on Disney and that can go ahead and make lunch, or I'll turn on Disney and, you know, I'll go ahead and start cleaning the house, or I'll turn on Disney and let them watch Disney while I go ahead and get some work done. You know, whatever your story is, we've all done it. Generation X are the biggest violators of this because we simply didn't know better. And looking back, it's embarrassing how often we put tablets in front of our kids so that they consume some of this nonsense. But it wasn't as bad then as it is now. On Disney Junior, Disney is now putting this out, which is a channel designed for preschool-age kids. This is pre-kindergarten, folks. There's no reason for a preschooler to be dealing with any of these issues. There's just no reason for it. There's no reason to inject this into a young child's mind. It's just not something that they should be dealing with. If a young kid starts to say that on his own without being prodded and guided by Disney, then they'll get over it on their own. But if they're continually having this stuff pumped into their head, they likely won't. And all studies on gender identity disorder, which we're no longer allowed to call it since 2012, as they rebranded it as gender dysphoria, which does nothing more than describe all of the symptoms of gender identity disorder. But back when they were allowed to study this as the disorder that it is, they realized that in children, this doesn't last. It's a phase. They figure it out. Sometimes a girl is what used to be called a tomboy. She likes to climb trees, she likes to catch bugs, she likes to play baseball, whatever, while the rest of the girls are off doing something different. She's hanging with the boys. That's not new to society. That doesn't mean that she's going to grow up to believe she's a man. Pumping this stuff into their heads this young is doing nothing but making them prone to all of the symptoms outlined in gender dysphoria, for no reason whatsoever. As a matter of fact, there are actual studies showing that it's worse than that because they never really felt that way in the first place. So the symptoms aren't even natural, which adds another element that they'll have to deal with later in life. But parents are overturning these boards of education. One by one, they're falling like bricks. One by one. And we just sit back and watch them all disappear. And these teachers, those of them that are socialists, those of them who are just ignorant or have been raised in an education culture that has taught them that this is okay, that has given them a different form of the term equity and haven't connected the dots yet. As your children are exposed to all of these people and they're trying to pump this nonsense into their head, they'll go in prepared now. They'll go in knowing what to expect. If they have to keep their mouth shut to get a grade, they can. If they're like me and they'd rather speak out, they can. It won't make a difference. In the end, none of this stuff's going to penetrate because those minds will be taught before they walk in there. The days of counting on educators to teach your kids about anything other than math, reading, and basic English are pretty much done. Whenever it comes to teaching history, how to deal with social issues, how to meet people, how to deal with people, that is now fully resting on the parents. And frankly, for those that have bad parents, good parents of other children need to step in and help out and be that role model. Rant over.
And like that,
gone.